There's only 3 Toyotas that I would buy in 2025. I mean, with all the engine problems, we've heard the 3.4 not totally sorted out in the Tundra. Of course, they're blowing engines and there's 100,000 recalls. The new Tacomas, even though they're a great little truck, unfortunately that new 8-speed automatic transmissions has had problems. There was early issues, of course, with some hub problems and brakes and overall quality control. Now a lot of that's sorted out, but it just feels like that's not a pick. And the general quality doesn't feel exactly where I expected it to be. We bought a 2022 Camry and we're pretty happy with that. But there's many people that say they've seen the quality decline over the last X amount of years. I'm going to talk about this because many people say that those vehicles built in Japan are the ones that you want to buy. So I'm going to give you the list for 2025, the only 3 Toyotas I would actually buy. Let's get into it now.
Life's too short to drive boring cars.
The first one I would buy actually is this vehicle, and I've actually been shopping them out. Now, unfortunately, what I've seen is the quality doesn't necessarily seem what they used to be. Things seem flimsier, the metal seems a little thinner than they actually were before in previous generations, and now they've changed up the engines. Now the new latest and greatest 4Runner, of course we have the iForce Max. We do get a new drivetrain in this vehicle. You no longer have the V6 that these vehicles had before. Instead, you now have a turbocharged 2.4 liter and of course an 8-speed automatic transmission. A lot of people love this brand and a lot of people love the 4Runner. It has such a legendary name, but I personally love the new design of this 4Runner. I mean, if you look at it, just take a look, it actually steps up the aggressive action here over the previous generation. Now, while the grille's a little simpler on this model, you do get a very tight set of headlights, beautiful alloys like you would expect on modern Toyotas. I love the two-tone handles as well as the step guards here. It gives you all of the comfort and amenities to get you to do your daily activities. But also you do get a third row as an upgrade, and these vehicles do give you that versatility, the practicality that you expect from a Toyota. The 4Runner has been around a long time, and even with the tow hitch ratings and of course room for many people in there, you definitely have the capacity and the reliability carved into this model. And largely because not just the performance, because the engine, even though it's not totally sold, a lot of people want nothing to do with a turbo 4-cylinder engine by Toyota. The fact remains is when they're dealing with an engine with port and direct fuel injection, no longer do you have carbon issues with the direct injection and turbocharging. That's just where it's going. That's where the industry is headed. And when manufacturers know how to design a turbocharged engine, it's not an issue. It's only when manufacturers overstress engines that aren't really designed for it, then they run into problems. Toyota has been building turbocharged engines for many years ago. Remember the 2JZ engine, turbocharged, straight 3-liter turbo 6? It was absolutely a workhorse. You could tune it beyond the moon and it would tolerate it. But the new 4Runner, it has a 2.4-liter turbo 4, gets better economy and arguably better performance than the outgoing V6. That's a big reason why I like that. Now, if I could take a V6 any day over a turbo 4, I would for these vehicles. That being said, these vehicles certainly, other than the thinner metal and other than some of the extra plastics you're finding, and you know, I show this in recent videos where there's certainly in the lower trim levels like the SR5, they definitely dumb it down. The new SR5 actually is lower specs than the outgoing SR5. That's because now they're sort of changing the tiers of their model lineups, and unfortunately you're just getting a little bit less vehicle, a little bit less options, and naturally that's how they keep prices at bay. So you are actually seeing an incremental price increase in these vehicles. That being said, this is the future for Toyota. They're going turbos, they're going hybrids, and if there's one thing that I can say about Toyota, they've certainly stepped up the game in terms of reliability over a lot of their counterparts that are also using turbo engines. Toyota, yes, they have some legendary engines, V6s and V8s, but this is just where it's at right now. And so far that 2.4 hasn't had the same issues that we've seen in the Tundras and the 3.4s. And the beauty is these vehicles are great looking units. There's another added bonus. Most vehicles that they say are built in Japan are the ones that you really want. And the Toyota 4Runner, like we see right here, is one of those few vehicles, along with the Century, that's actually built in Japan. If you're liking the video so far, you're gonna love the rest of the channel. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and don't forget the notifications bell so you know when the next amazing video is coming. The next one I would definitely order up. You know, we have a 2022 and we love the vehicle. Now, if there's one thing that's consistent, even though these vehicles are actually built in the US, Camry has always been priding itself on durability, reliability, long life, and a lot of it is just because of its simplicity. You know, you get the four-door, the motoring capability, but now, unfortunately, in 2025, all you can get is a hybrid. That being said, Toyota makes the best hybrid, the ECVT systems, as well as they still utilize their base engine, that 2.5 liter four-cylinder engine that actually has to be naturally aspirated under the hood. It's one of the most reliable engines that Toyota has around, and they've been using it for many, many years. Now, the new Camry, it's a good-looking unit. The front end certainly looks a lot like the family line. I personally love the looks. Look at the headlights of this unit. Definitely a nice upgrade from the previous generation, I think, from the 2022, which is a good-looking car. But this is a nice look. I like the front end. It's definitely a nice restyle. The headlights are quite different. You still get the beautiful high gloss piano finishing on the wheels, sunroof on certain models, an interior that has changed a little bit, although they've stepped up their game, and the quality looks a little better than they did back in 2022. You get the simple little handles, and they are giving you a little wing here as well, just to give it a bit of a sporting touch. As you'll notice, this gives you the all-wheel drive, HEV, and this is the SE. We happen to buy the SE all-wheel drive, which this effectively replaces the car that we had. And we love our car. It's great. It's been spectacular. And with the previous generation having hybrid as an upgrade, the current generation is hybrid as standard, so it drives the prices up slightly. But these vehicles are also reliable, and we love our car of this generation. Now, that being said, the current generation, you can either get 2.5 liter four-cylinder under the hood combined with either 2 or 3 electric motors to move that vehicle along. It actually is spirited, it's quite peppy, and it's fun to drive. And definitely one of those, even though it's not made in Japan, it's one that has a reputation of durability, primarily because of the ECVT as well as that 2.5, and they do the best hybrid system in the biz. There's another SUV by Toyota that I would definitely consider buying. It's built in Japan. It's on a similar platform as the Lexus GX550, so it's a little redundant because in the Lexus you get a V6 and you also get third row as an option. Unfortunately, the Toyota Land Cruiser doesn't give you that third row. That being said, it's a sporty, interesting little SUV, although here we have the 4Runner, which is definitely something that probably appeals to a much broader market, because in certain trim levels you can get a third row, and of course it's the 4Runner. The 4Runner carries a certain reputation of durability and reliability that a lot of people trust, and so the 4Runner is always on the list, and it's also built in Japan. But the Land Cruiser features a very similar 2.4 liter turbo 4, only the 2 rows seats, and of course it features the 8-speed automatic transmission, but it is built in Japan. And while it's durable, it's reliable, and there haven't been a whole lot of issues with the Land Cruiser, the fact remains is, even though it's slightly redundant from vehicles like the 4Runner, which essentially is more or less the same vehicle, has an off-road suspension package, definitely has that same drivetrain. Unfortunately, a lot of times Land Cruiser owners are seriously going to find their vehicles, again, a little redundant. But because it's built in Japan, because it's an SUV, and because it's a little new and fresh, it definitely is going to appeal. And it's one of those vehicles with reliability that you can trust for many, many years. Now, how long is it going to be? Is Toyota going down market with that vehicle? Slightly. But that being said, it's a great brand, it's a great engine and drivetrain combo, and it's going to be a trustworthy companion on your off-roading excursions. And with all of that said, check out our service department issues with our Toyota. We love the car, the service, Anyway, hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.